Hi, in this video we are explaining the process of subduction and what subduction zones are. Okay, so here I have a diagram. This diagram is between two plates. This is an oceanic plate because this is the ocean, and this is a continental plate, judging by the land here. And these two plates are converging, and as you can see, the oceanic plate goes under the continental plate, and that process of going under another plate is called subduction. Subduction. And obviously the zone, the area in which that going under is happening is called the subduction zone. Okay? So take note, subduction zones happen when you have convergent boundaries, but only if it involves oceanic crust, because oceanic crust is dense, so therefore it tends to go under another plate. If you have two oceanic crusts, then the older, denser plate will go under the younger, less dense plate. So if you look at this map here, you can see that there are a lot of areas in the Earth where there is convergence. So for example, if you look at, I have to zoom out. If you look at, for example, here in Pacific plate here, Pacific plate, you can see that there is a convergence right over here. There's convergence right over here. There's convergence over here. So there's a lot of convergence around the Pacific plate. And again, with convergence, that means one will go under the other as long as it involves an oceanic plate. And since the Pacific plate is, named after the Pacific Ocean, so it's mostly oceanic crust along the edges, then you can find a lot of subductions. And again, subduction processes in this plate. And if you have watched the videos on volcanoes and also in videos on trench, then this is connected to them. When one plate subducts under the other, you create trenches and you create volcanoes also. So if I have Google Earth here and I would search 10,000 years of volcanoes, or maybe just volcanoes. Yeah, 10,000 years of volcanoes. I forgot the keyword here. 10,000 years of volcanoes. Look at that. Those are all the volcanoes in the world. And more importantly, let's take a look at the Pacific plate. Okay. So you see, this is the Pacific plate right here. This is the Philippine plate here. And you can see the Philippines has a lot of volcanoes because the Philippine plate is converging with the Eurasian plate. So there's subduction going on, and when subduction happens, again, you form volcanoes. If you look at the other side, which is here, South America, you have a lot of volcanoes here. Why? Because this is the Nazca plate. And if you look at this one, Nazca plate is pushing towards the South American plate. So there's convergence. Nazca is oceanic, South American is continental, so therefore the Nazca plate goes under, makes a subduction, therefore creates volcanoes. So that's why you have volcanoes here. And in fact, along the edge of the Pacific plate, you have a lot of volcanoes, and that's why this is called the Pacific Ring of Fire. But that happens because of subduction. Again, what is subduction? Subduction is simply when one plate goes under the other plate, and this plate is always an oceanic plate. If it's between oceanic and continental, it's the oceanic plate that goes under. If it's between an older oceanic plate versus a younger oceanic plate, it's always the older, more dense plate that goes under the younger, less dense oceanic plate.